Hi, my name's Corey, and I'm hanging out with my good friend Mike Weaver, Big Daddy Weave, and we're going to talk about a new song called I've Just Seen Too Much. And let me tell you, I got duped. I am one of those classic kids that looks at a song title and goes, oh, I've got this all figured out. I know where you're going to go. And when you have an album that has themes of grief and loss, I thought, uh-oh, I've just seen too much. This might go a different way.
Yeah.
And boy, does it. I love the creativity of redeeming such a almost negative sentence. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, man, great friends, Hank Bentley, Michael Farron, on a day when we were just writing songs from a place of grief, which I would not advise trying to write like multiple songs in a day like that. But we just had a house full of amazing songwriters. And one of the room, I would go from room to room to room of these awesome pairs of songwriters. And in this moment, in that day, is Michael Farron, Hank Bentley, two guys I just really look up to in songwriting, but just also in life too. Man, they just carry a wisdom and just a relatability, and so I've just seen too much. You know, you think that you know where it's going to be, and you're like, this is it, I'm out. You know, and especially in a time when there's so much deconstruction going on in people's faith, and they're trying to figure out things, and then you have some kind of tragedy happen, and sometimes that could be the death of faith. You know, what I do like about the song too, though, is that I don't feel like it hides the difficulty of going through a season of grief, you know. And I was just months into the process of grief of over my brother Jay when he passed, and when we came to this moment, and the season before, a huge health battle for him had been a season of miracles. And I know I've seen that even put strains on like relationships in my life when I would begin to talk about God doing the miraculous. Like, I mean, it weirds people out sometimes, but like, I really believe this. And even though it's not always popular in this day and age, I believe that God is the God of the Bible that we read. Like the stuff that you see happen in the Bible, he still does that stuff today, you know? He's not a genie in a bottle and you know, wish it to be so and it is so or whatever, you know, but he is a God of power and he's a God of miracles. And above every other thing, I believe he's a God of love, you know, and that flows from who he is. I believe that he wants good things for people. Why do bad things happen? I don't got all the answers to that crap. You know what I mean? But I know, you know, this world that we live in is a broken place and awful things happen. But I believe at the heart of God that he wants what's good for people. I really believe that, you know? And I believe that because I had seen this season of miracles, that it made me not call into question the goodness of God, you know? Because it starts like that at the beginning, man. The enemy comes in the garden and he says, did God really? And there's literally this thing of like, God is holding out on you. Like that's his pitch the entire time. But man, God is a redeemer, you know? When the rest of the world is falling apart because of sin and because of brokenness, you know? I mean, dude, God is in the middle of it, redeeming things and trying to work things for the good of people, you know? Even when we go through stuff like this. And it doesn't make the stuff that we go through hurt any less though, you know? And on that day, I just remember when they played the little part of this song that they had as we began to write, I felt like I couldn't even breathe, you know, until we get to the turnaround in the song, you know, which is the bridge, you know, because it just feels like even the music, the whole music of it, it just feels like this heavy kind of depressed thing, you know. But then in the bridge, it lifts and you find out what we've just seen too much of, you know, too much of his kindness, too much of his goodness. You know, whenever I start to get low and feel depressed about what has happened, or I'm missing Jay or any of that stuff, you know, I'm telling you, how the Lord combats that in my life is he shows me all the ways that he's been so good to me, man. I'm telling you, when I think about my wife, when I think about my kids, man, they're so incredible. When I think of over 20 years of just seeing God move so faithfully in a band called Big Daddy Weave, we should not have lasted past the first year. You know what I mean? It's like with a name like Big Daddy Weave, are you kidding me? You know, it's like he's been nothing but faithful to us, man. And I've seen that over and over and over again. I tell people all the time, we don't write any songs about our faithfulness to God. You know, I wish I had that kind of track record, but I don't. I just tend towards disorder and stress and falling apart and all of those things. But somehow he finds me in the midst of that and he continues with me, you know. The one being in the universe who could exempt himself from pain doesn't do it. God loved so much that he chose to suffer. He chose to literally give the life of his own son. That's who he is. That's who. And so I don't know what disillusionment I had been under, but you know, if he chooses the route of pain and suffering for his own self, I don't know how I think I'm getting out of it, you know, but he promised that he'll be with me in the midst of it. And that's what I've experienced in my life. Even when I've been at the lowest of low, I encounter his kindness, man, and he gives me what it takes to keep on, you know?
And I just want to play off your words. You were talking about what the enemy does as also what a king who would sacrifice himself. Yeah. And that's the value I find on a daily basis, is that you've got an enemy that's going to great lengths to trip me up, and you got a king who sacrifices himself for my soul.
Yeah, willing to give everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm so excited for people to hear this. I have a dear friend, my son's former principal, who is going through quite a loss. And I find myself at a loss to console. I know there's healing in even moments of just sitting together. But I can't wait to slide this to that family and go, see if you can find encouragement in songs like this one in particular.
That's amazing, man. That would mean so much to know that you'd sent it to him. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I'm praying that that's what God would use this record to do, you know. It gives a different kind of meaning to the things that we've been through, you know. And the fact that we are all in the common ground of what hurts in this life, man. You know, we all deal with that stuff. And I think there's a valuable in vulnerability to share that I'm not just, when I sing that song of worship, you know, it may sound like this lofty spiritual thing, but it's not. It's costly because we've been through the valley, but we've encountered Jesus in the valley for real, to find that he really is who he says he is. And he's the friend who sticks closer than a brother. And that verse has even meant so much more to me, you know, after the loss of my brother, you know, the temporary loss of my brother, you know. But I've just seen too much of his goodness to ever think that he's less than what I've encountered him to be, you know.
I remember going through walking through the valley of the shadow of death and just begging God to hit the fast forward button. Yes. Get me past this so I can continue. And I just had such a prompting of, no, you're going to walk through this for a reason.
Yeah. Man, that's good.
And that reason is going to be maybe down the road, someone else will walk through this and you get to walk alongside them and go, oh, I've been there.
And you know what's crazy? I find that it comes right out of you then, you know? I mean, one thing else that I've learned is that you don't have to lead with that, you know? Because when somebody's going through something, maybe that's the last moment that they really need to hear anything from you at all. Maybe they just need you to just hold them.
That's a good word. You don't have to lead with that.
Yeah, but it's like, but man, as you walk down the road a little ways, then, you know, just having somebody there who's been through something like what you've been through, you can't say, because there's no replication of, you know what I mean? It's like your own grief and your own situation is your own. Nobody could have loved that person the way you did. Nobody had that person, you know. They didn't lose the person that you lost, you know. But just to know that there's somebody who's a little bit further down a similar road, you know.
With the loss of your BFF slash brother, are you living your life differently at all?
Man, I'm telling you, I just feel like the time with my family, like I just draw them close to me in a way that I never have.
You've noticed that.
Yeah, and just that I mean, the value of every birthday, the value of every, you know, I celebrate those things like a lot more intentionally now than maybe I did before, you know. So, yeah, this life that it really is a gift to us, you know, and I believe that I'm seeing that in a more real way now.
The name of the song is I've Just Seen Too Much. It's not what you think. There's a twist. Mike, we were getting all M. Night Shyamalan on us in this song. You got to stay for the ending. And I can't wait for you to hear it from Big Daddy Weave.
Too much of his good.